Cafe. Glad that you could make your time to join us right here. I'm used to Stanley Nyaringita. In case you're waking up right now in the house, ukiwa pale kazini. This is a Monday, and on Monday, around this particular time, we discuss matters health. And for today's conversation, something that is really touches a lot of us, this particular country. We'll be taking a look at the figures later on. We'll take a look at the tobacco control. Why are we having this conversation? On Friday, the 31st of May, 2024, is World No Tobacco Day. So just a precursor of that conversation, we take a look at what we really need to do as a country. Just listening from people who've walked through that journey. Right here on set, people who've walked for years through that journey will be discussing, even from a point of view from the medical professional, what do they really think about all this? And to just introduce them, on my left, Faiza Wanjiru, she's a recovering addict, as well as an addiction counselor at Sergeant Xavier Mentorship, Empowerment and Counseling Center. That is just a brief and a nutshell of who she really is. She has a lot on her plate. She'll be telling us about that, as well as Dr. Victor Ngani, Medical Director, as well as at Dr. Rasik Kantaria. Let me just get that. Dr. Rasik Kantaria Jalaram Medical Services in Nairobi. Daktari has been a medical superintendent in Bungoma. He formerly group head of critical care at RFH Healthcare. He's been a medical director at Mata Hospital, and now a recent one. Congratulations for that, by the way.
Thank you, Stanley.
He's also a chess guru. Just to throw it out there, that is just a nutshell of it. Before we actually interact with you, let me also just tell you, using our infographics, what you really need to know concerning this conversation. So what is tobacco according to World Health Organization? So tobacco is a plant, Nicotiana tabacum and Nicotiana rustica, that contains nicotine, which is an addictive drug with both stimulant and depressant effects. That is what really tobacco is, but we'll be getting from them what they understand from tobacco. Let's take a look at, with the help of World Health Organization, how the statistics look like globally. So this is at the end of 2022. So tobacco kills more than 8 million people each year. It kills up to half of its users who don't quit. We'll be getting to understand how easy or even how hard it is to quit. According to World Health Organization, tobacco kills an estimated 1.3 million non-smokers exposed to second-hand smoking, I beg your pardon, and around 80% of world's 1.3 billion tobacco users live in low and middle-income countries. We'll also be getting to understand what that means really when it comes to even the demographics around there. Now that's in the world. Let's take a look at, let's come to Africa and take a look at how the numbers are looking like. So by the end of 2022, South Africa was leading with the highest number of tobacco users by 8.9 million. This was followed by Algeria, 6.7 million, DRC, 5.7 million, Madagascar, 4.6 million, and then Nigeria, 3.5 million, Ethiopia, 3.4 million, and then now Kenya leads the whole pact of East Africa. That's Kenya, Uganda, as well as Tanzania. So Kenya is leading that one. Kenya has 3.1 million tobacco users by the end of 2022. Tanzania falling at 2.7 million, and then Uganda 1.3 million. Now, because we've mentioned Kenya, now let's come to Kenya. And we've taken a look at that one. So for Kenya, the tobacco users at the end of 2022, 3.1 million. Now let's narrow it down again. For 3.1 million, for the male, is actually way higher. 2.7 million male tobacco users compared to 0.4 million tobacco users who are now female. Tobacco smokers made up now for the smokers themselves, because there are quite a number, variety of the products. We'll be getting to understand from them the kind of different tobacco products. So for the smokers, they made the largest portion, which is about 2.5 million. Also, according to World Health Organization, just take a look at the prevalence rate, even for the young adolescents, aged between 13 to 15. So it says 6%, that's the average prevalence rate for tobacco smoking for boys aged between 13 to 15, and 2% the average prevalence rate for the same. That is according to the World Health Organization. As we continue, viewer, we'll be taking a look at more data from them and just seeing. Now, that is Kenya, but then how does it look in different counties? But let me cross over to them, and I'll start with you, Wanjiru. Many are, who are watching you right now have either read your story, have either watched you, in different media platforms, and they want to hear again from you, from the horse's mouth. But then some are seeing you today for the first time. So could you kindly tell us your journey getting into being hooked into drugs and then now getting out of it? Kindly share with us your story.
Thank you. First of all, I'm Faiza Wanjiru. I'm an addiction counselor. We are situated in Murang'a. I work at the SMEC Rehabilitation Center, where we have more than 80 addicts. They sleep there. So I greet you all. I know they are watching. My journey started when I was 14 years. That was back in 1998, up to 2015. So those are 17 years being in addiction. And mostly I was affected by cigarettes, because cigarettes is very, very addictive. I was able to leave the other drugs, but cigarettes ilikuwa imenilemea kabisa.
Wow.
I went into what can I call it?
Unaweza tumia pia.
Okay, nilienda, ilifika pale mpaka nikapata miscarriage.
Okay.
Hiyo ilikuwa ni ya kwanza. I'm a mother of one, but actually nilikuwa na watoto watatu. I came to a place where I had a miscarriage. Then that child ilikuwa nilimzaa akiwa na low birth weight. So then I was still smoking cigarettes, using alcohol, but cigarettes was my drug of choice. But he couldn't survive, so he passed away. Now I was left with only one child. Up to now, I've been struggling. Cigarettes made me...
You can take your time.
It has costed me a lot. For 17 years, it has costed me a lot. And I started through peer pressure. It was like just a leisure. Later it became a regret. For those 17 years, I have been struggling. Nataka kuacha, ninashindwa. Until 2015, when I was rehabilitated. That's when I took another turn. Ilifika pali, you can see even my teeth can tell you, tooth decay. I went to a point when I had even decreased sexual drive. Sikuwa nataka hata mwanaume karibu na mimi. So cigarette has cost me a lot.
All right, thank you.
Even my eyesight, it has cost me a lot. And I can tell you, if you have never ever smoked cigarettes, just never try. Don't even try. And if you have been using, those who are using, they know the pain I'm talking about. It is very, very addictive. Na nile drugs ambayo ni ngumu sana kuacha. Yeah.
Okay. Asante sana, even for having the strength. I mean, despite the fact that you've been sober 9 years right now, but then even just remembering it seems like, it was yesterday and the kind of when you unakumbuka. And I think, because Dr. I was actually now I wanted to ask her that, between all other drugs she's ever used, which was how, and she's answered that. And I'm curious, why is it so addictive, tobacco itself? Whatever is contained in it, in tobacco, why is it so addictive?
Thank you, Stanley. And it's just quite, it brings it home sitting here next to Pfizer, hearing her story, because there's all this information we keep sharing, you know, almost academically. And just to hear the pain, you know, she talks about having lost her baby, a miscarriage is something that we speak about as a complication, low birth weight, the consequences. And you can hear her pain when she says, those who are smoking know what she's talking about and how it started. Now, tobacco, when it's, you know, it contains nicotine, and it contains thousands of substances, which we are going to come to. Yeah. But for the particular area of addiction, it contains nicotine that then stimulates production of some feel-good hormones, endorphins and dopamine, that make you feel like you're in the sky. And what that does, it makes you crave that desire. Now, the second thing that happens is that as much as you get nicotine, the receptors, sort of the body lowers those receptors. It reduces them. So you have to get more nicotine so that you can get just to feel normal. At some point, it becomes so bad that without it, you actually feel like something is missing. And that's a general trend with addictions in general. So you have something you didn't need in the first place. It comes into your body, gives you a certain feeling that's very good, and then your body downregulates the receptors so that the requirement keeps increasing and getting out of that chain. Now, if you stop that, you know, the intense amount of nicotine you receive from smoking, then because your receptors are now very, very few, you can actually feel absolutely horrible. And that is what Pfizer was reporting.
Right. I want us to now take a look at even the kind of freedom, because now tunaangalia the smoke, the tobacco users really, and the non-tobacco users, wale secondary, wenye tuko tunaoita. The ones who are probably seated here, and there's someone there who's probably smoking. In major cities, at Nairobi too, kama let's say Nairobi itself, it has quite a number of designated places in here. If you want to smoke, you can take a look at them. The last time we checked, just to mention, kuna places kama Tusker Bus Station, Jivanji Gardens, male near Holy Family Basilica, Uhuru Park, pale down River Road. There's also along Letema Road. That's just to mention zile designated. But in your view, Njiru, first of all, do people really follow? If you want to, let's say, if someone who is in that process, do they follow ati lazima niende e place? Pardon me. Do they have to go to that place? Do they know that they have to go to these designated places ndio waende kusmoke hapo? Ama they just do it wherever they are, in your view, even for you maybe, how was it?
They know, but what comes, like tuendelea, it's the craving. It's like, unaweza enda kuta kibao imeandikwa usikojoe hapa. But ukiangalia chini hapo, unakuta pamejaa, ni pabaridi yani. Even some cases, unaonaga kuna zile smoking zone, but mtu unakuta hezi enda mpaka mahali kama hapo. For cigarettes, munaendaga munaombana. Then, you know, for cigarettes, when I smoke cigarettes and you are next to me, okay, I lose 6 minutes of my life. You per smoker, you lose 12 minutes.
12, double.
12. So mwenye anapulizio ndio. And I started with my boyfriend. Wakati nilikuwa mjamzito, so alikuwa anavuta, na mimi nasikia harufu mzuri sana. So nataka kila saa wakati karibu na yeye. Na nilikuja nikaanza kujifunza pole. Later on, nikija kujua I was almost addicted. Then sio cigarettes peke yake. Ilifika pale nikaanza kutumia mpaka Chavis. It's also a kind of tobacco. Nilianza kutumia Chavis, of which for now, it's the one so many people are using. So ilifika pale. Kwa hivyo, we know, na watu ujua, kuna kuwaga na pale unaweza kwenda kuvutia. But, unaona ile kama unavutaga tu ni ile raha, unaona? I came to an extent, hata nikienda kwa choo, haja kubwa, unakutaga watu wengi wale watu wanavuta sigara, lazima aende na kapisi. Lazima tafuta kale kadogo. Aende, hiyo ndio itamsaidia.
So, the fact that hata umemention hiyo, sheria inasema hiyo box lazima, even for any company, brand, they have to have ile health warning. Yenye, hii product itakuathiri. Isiuziwe mtu under 18. First of all, mtu anatumia, wanaangalianga hizi vitu, wanaona, do they keenly follow wanasoma hizo vitu zote?
Inakujaga inakuwa it's a chronic disease. You use it despite harmful consequences cause imekuingia. You know they are not good, but it is a chronic disease. Inakujaga inakuwa ni ugonjwa.
So hata mtu akienda kununua kwa duka and daktari even as you come in this one, even as they go to buy this one, they don't keenly follow through whatever has been written.
Stanley, preparing for this show, I sort of found a decent analogy. It's a bit sad, but it's an analogy nonetheless that we should pay attention to. Yeah. Recently, we had flooding in the country, and there were all these, advisories against, running. It's flooded. Just don't go through that. Don't drive in that. Yet you'll still see videos of people who would then go through that flooded section until they're swept away. And we've all seen these things, and this is not the first time, the year before. The same thing with smoking. You see, unfortunately, it's extremely harmful. Of all the things people have taken, sometimes in medicine we say, this is associated, this may, suggestions. Smoking, we know for a fact, causes all these harmful effects. There is the psychological effect that has been spoken about. There is direct health effects. There are these cancers we speak about, and probably we discuss this later on. People know they cause this. But then when people hear this information, it's the same person who's seeing the water, feels it's a bit still, and they still walk through. So what needs to be done is for us to be a little bit wiser and just pay a lot more attention to the stories like Faiza's story and understand that these things the doctors keep saying is real. There is a serious risk that if you get into smoking, your life will not be the same. Now, some people ask me, how is it that this old Mzee is 100+ years? He has been smoking for the last 70 years and is still alive. You see, we talk about risk. You're seeing the statistics that you shared, and Stanley, we should take a moment to recognize the depth of your preparation, the depth of your research. Half the people who smoke will have probably lose their lives as a result of that. Now, it doesn't mean everybody, but 50%, that's a pretty serious risk that you're facing. We are talking about a 23 times increased risk in getting lung cancer if you're a man, 13 times increase if you're a lady. You're talking about getting cardiac diseases, 4 times the risk. Why would you take this? It's what Faiza says, the pressure. And when you're still young, there are things you learn later in life. You look back and wish you not do them, even if they didn't have the same kind of health effects they do now, because peer pressure tends to get into those spaces. There is evidence out there, and it's a lot of evidence is freely available, that cigarette smoking is going to harm you, not just yourself, but the people around you.
Because I want us to focus on this, and the reason I was asking about the designated places, pali imetengwa, ndio if you smoke, if you're going to buy a cigarette, you use that particular place. And Venyata amesema, you won't even think about, yes, as much as unajua, umeona pale ni designated, lakini you wouldn't even think about that at that time. What do you feel like now we have, because if for Nairobi itself, the couple of them, kitembea around city center yenyewe, kuna designated places. Are these places too many ama too few?
They are few. According to the smokers, they are few.
But according to none, the secondary smokers, wenye nilikuwa napanda gari mahali city center, and it's a designated place just somewhere. What's the idea of, as someone who even who trains and counsels addicts and umeko kwa hii process yote, recovery process, you've talked to even people who are in the same. What's the idea of kuunda designated place?
I think, like for now in Murang'a, we have only one.
One, okay.
Na katika hiyo place, unakuta vijana, they go and sit there and start a business of selling mirror. So na hiyo si pahali ati unaweza sema ati hapa specifically imekuwa na ni county government, but you can see other people, they are starting other businesses there.
Pali ime designate ya.
I'd imagine the reason why you designate a space is to protect someone who is consciously trying to avoid smoking. You see, so if you allow, well, and again, we have to acknowledge that those who are struggling with quitting, so they have to smoke anyway.
Yeah.
So if you make that choice, then the idea is to restrict the consequences to only the person who's made this choice. So of course, if you smoke outside of that zone, then you're putting at risk other people, and not just about the public, even in your own home. If you smoke, then your children who may not be smoking could also be affected equally.
Because I'm trying to understand, if it's, let's say, city center itself,
yeah.
and not only Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, where there's a huge population. So if it's a city center that has designated places of smoking, there's a high possibility that, let's say, around in the morning hours, around that designated place, there will be a huge 70% of people who are around that designated place are non-smokers, because they're probably going to their businesses, to their offices, wanaenda kupanda gari. So, Daktari, what's the whole idea of kutengeneza a designated place?
Mm-hmm. So, as I've said, I think the main reason is basically to try and protect the people who are not smoking. Because if you had to make a choice between having people smoke in a secluded area versus allowing public smoking, obviously public smoking is definitely much worse. Imagine you're in a vehicle and someone lights their cigarette and they're smoking in that space, and suddenly all the thousands of chemicals you keep talking about, including tar, all these things are coming into your lung. That's the idea. I can understand the risk, because all these people are smoking in one area and then the other non-smokers who are passing by. Essentially, there should even be regulations about how this smoking area should be designed, how to ensure that the fumes are exhausted and extracted from that space so that there is a complete protection of the people around us. Of course, in Kenya, we haven't really paid attention to those regulations. We've just put a smoking area. That is better than nothing, I must tell you. And then there are the people that Wanjiru is talking about, where they actually then actively go and start businesses around that. Do you know why? Because you don't understand how serious it is. There is a Swahili saying that says, majuto ni mjukuu. It comes much later. Unfortunately, that is what we see with these kinds of health items that we discuss every so often. I know this is not the first time we're discussing this with you, Stanley, but we will not pay attention until it catches up with us, the consequences.
Yes. Dr. Wanjiru, allow me to open the phone lines, even for those who are watching us this morning. Wherever you're watching us, talk to us, 0795 045 864, as we discuss the whole tobacco control kind of measures. The 31st of this month, that's on Friday, is World No Tobacco Day. Do you understand the side effects that come with tobacco, the whole tobacco products, smoking, and others that we'll be getting to know? Do you have a personal experience that you'd like to probably share with us and tell us, either yako ama someone close to you, and just share with us, tell us, how is the whole journey? Do you feel like, as a country, we're headed there when it comes to tobacco control and all that? Do you have any kind of questions for Dr. as well as Councillor this morning? Throw them in, or probably any kind of comments, 0795 045 864. You can also text us, 0793 267 279 is our WhatsApp number. I'll be taking a look at them as we continue. On our Facebook page, we've posted that question there. Do you understand any side effects? You can talk to us as well. So before we continue getting into even matters, rehabilitation centers and all that. So Dr. still on the whole now secondary smokers, what's the effect? Because as Wanjiru was saying, yako, it collects 6% for the direct, for the smoke user. But then for a non-smoke user, for the secondary one, would be even double. What's now the effect of as someone who's seated next to someone who's smoking?
Mm-hmm. Stanley, would you allow me to just take this? Because I think it's important for people to understand what happens when you inhale cigarette smoke in general, whether you're inhaling it as a person who's smoking or someone else who's next to you. So the first thing is, you are basically burning something, and you're burning tobacco. And when you burn tobacco, imagine that you're in a public space where the burning garbage, something of this nature. And that smoke, naturally you move away from that. When you smoke, it's different, because you're saying that smoke is getting into your airway. So it gets into your airway, gets into your bloodstream, and runs throughout your body. What does it contain? First, we've spoken about the substances like nicotine that has the addictive effect that Pfizer was describing. But it also has thousands of chemicals that have been broken down as a result of smoking. Basically, the smoke itself that you'll see when you're burning material, that's exactly what's in your lungs. You'd have 4,000 of this, more than 4,000 of these are known to be cancer-causing agents, but it's not just cancer. We've spoken about how nicotine gets into every single organ in your body. It goes to the kidneys and causes your blood pressure to go up. Nicotine itself, plus another gas called carbon monoxide. We tell you when you're sleeping in the night, don't sleep with a jiko, you know, on, because you know what's going to happen. You've watched it on TV. Actually, carbon monoxide is part of the gases that are produced by in cigarette smoke, reduces your oxygen concentration. Then all these chemicals, they actually damage your blood vessels, making your blood vessels very thin. So every single part of your body that has a blood vessel is at risk. Which part of your body has a blood vessel? Every single one of them. So over time, you begin to develop things like high blood pressure. You get high risk of strokes. Platelets become a problem. You have interruptions in your hormones. It reduces fertility in women, causes erectile dysfunction in men. It can cause prematurity in children. It can cause numerous myriad kinds of complications. And all these things exist. Then we haven't even spoken about cancer. Many of us think that smoking will only cause lung cancer because it's directly in the lung. And yes, it is true, lung cancer is the most common type of cancer globally, and smoking does cause a big chunk of this. But it can also cause cancers everywhere else, whether it is cervical cancer, cancer of the uterus, pancreatic cancer, brain tumors. Smoking is one of the most harmful things that you could engage in. It looked cool, and you know, it's a business. There are those who promote it. Yes, you'll see maybe people who have gone through their lives without the impact of smoking in their lives, but that risk is massive. Now, to the question of the person who is smoking and the one who didn't make the choice to smoke, can you imagine this? You're making a choice for yourself to inhale all these gases I'm telling you that are harmful, but then you are also passing that decision of yours to somebody else and impacting their lives, Stanley. Could be your wife, could be somebody you don't know.
Dr. Allow me to interrupt you briefly as we pick this call from Dama kutoka Kariobangi. Dama, habari asubuhi?
Nzuri sana.
Watu wa Kariobangi mnaendeleaje?
Kofiti?
Yes, uko na swali au uko na maoni kuhusiana na hii conversation yetu leo?
Swali nilikuwa nauliza, nimekuwa nikivuta sigara kwa miaka 6. Lakini najaribu nimekuwa nikivuta sigara kwa miaka 6.
Okay.
Lakini najaribu kuconceive, haikuji. Shida inaweza kwa nini? Na nitafanya nini?
Sawa. Thank you very much. I think okay. So Dama says that amejaribu asante sana Damari. Asante sana Dama from Kariobangi. Salimia sana to Kariobangi. So she says that she's been using and smoking cigarettes for the past 6 years. She's trying to stop, and what can she do? What is the problem? Yes.
Yes, so, and I'm glad she's saying that, and I hope people who are listening, because these things sometimes get in one way, come out the other. You're hearing Pfizer's story, you're hearing Dama's story. She's saying that she's been trying to stop and she can't. And you'll hear lots of stories on the net telling you how cigarette is not a drug, it's not addictive, and that's just, you know, that's not correct. So unfortunately, it's very hard to stop, but it's possible. And I'm glad I'm sitting next to a lady who can tell you she's walked the journey successfully. And right now, there are options that exist within the medical sphere, rehabilitative sphere, that can help you. So we have smoking cessation programs that would include different levels. It could include at the very, very early on stages alternatives like nicotine patches to help you get over the initial craving. And then you have to go through psychosocial counseling. There is exercise. There is a whole host of programs that have been designed to assist people to come out of this. I know that this is to a large extent what you're doing, and maybe you could be the best person to actually.
Oh yes, most definitely. Yeah. And even as you also, actually, unaweza mjibu before I ask you the next question.
Okay.
Usaidie Dama anasema for 6 years amekuwa smoke cigarettes, anajaribu kuacha, anashangaa shida ni nini?
Dama si lazima aende rehabilitation center. Anaweza enda tafuta psychiatrist na anaweza saidika, then aende apate a lot of counseling, then kuna ile diet atapata, akunywe maji zaidi, akule mananasi na vitu kama melon zenye unajua waga inaenda inafunga kifua. You can see even my voice, okay. It is raspy somehow. Waga inaharibu mpaka sauti.
Your point ya mananasi na watermelon, hold hapo kidogo. Wacha tupiki call kutoka Owen. Owen, habari asubuhi, unatupigia ukiwa wapi?
Mzuri, mimi napiga kutoka Murang'a.
Murang'a, okay.
Yes.
Zungumza nasi.
So I think niko na maoni. So okay, first of all, I've never found interest in abusing drugs, but I don't think the biggest problem that we have is lack of awareness. I think the biggest problem we have is peer pressure, because many people that are abusing drugs today is due to peer pressure. Okay, the kind of people, the kind of friends we have out here are the ones who are, making us engage in such behaviors of, taking tobacco. So I think we should really talk about peer pressure, because it's one of the things that is highly affecting the youth out here. Yeah.
So, asante sana Owen kutoka Murang'a. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. 0795-045-864 is the number to call us live. Talk to us, send us all those questions and comments that you have regarding the conversation for today. Tobacco-controlled measures as a country, what do we need to do? So before Owen apige simu, sema ni huko kwenu Murang'a. Ulikuwa tuambia historia ya mananasi na watermelon. I'm curious.
Okay, unaweza kunywa maji sana sababu nasikiaga kiu. Unaweza kunywa maji sana, mananasi inasaidiaga. Pia melon sana mananasi waga inasaidiaga sana katika hiyo kiu kumaliza. Then another thing dama atafanya, kuna vitu tatu ata-avoid, tunazitaga PPTs. So, people, places and things. Sababu wala marafiki alikuwa akitembea na wao, still watamrudisha back to party alikuwa. The environment. Unaona, like for me when nilitoka rehabilitation center, it was on, I remember very well, ilikuwa tarehe 10 December 2015. Tarehe 12 kwetu nyumbani walikuwa, by the way my biological sister anauzaga miraa, na unaona hapo sasa katika vile anauza miraa, unakuta hapo kuna sigara, so nilikuwa ninaona ile craving napeleka mkono kwanza nikisikia harufu, but ilifika pale nikapigia my counselor mwenye alikuwa ananisaidia, so she can look for someone, na nikamuuliza venye nitafanya, akaniambia you have got the answer. Ile ni God gave me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Dama akibadika, si society atabadisha, ni individually, na ndio amekuwa affected individually. Courage to change the things I can. Hakuna bunduki anachukuliwa anaambia vuta sigara. Yeye mwenyewe ndio alifanya the drug of her choice. Anakuwa na wisdom kujua the tofauti. Okay. Ni ile wakati like tunisaidia ni kukuwa na self control. Unajua kuna zile zenye zinakuaga sigara, tunaweza sema ni legalized kwa zinaenda inauzwa kwa duka. Sigara unaenda, but it is very very addictive, but watu wengi wagawaonagi kama ni addictive. Stari na kwambia, mimi nishaichoma mpaka nyumba. Mimi nimelala nimevuta sigara hivi nimesahau nikawekelea. Kumbe tena ikashika piro case, nyumba ikashika moto. Sigara inakuwaga na madhara mingi sana.
Unakubaliana na Owen venye anasema story ya peer pressure nini?
Yangu pia ilianza na peer pressure. Marafiki zuru sababu mnaenda chain, mnaambianaga wakati unavuta mnaambiana twende chain. So hata pale kumetengwa watu waende wavutie sigara hapo, watu mtu aende avutie hapo. Huko ni kurisk sababu mnaenda huyu unawakisha. Hiyo nini yote, hiyo moshi yote ikikuja ikiingia, unakuta inakuletea throat cancer, mouth cancer. Unakuta uko na mashida kama hiyo. Kama mimi sasa unasikia sauti yangu vile naongea, it is very raspy sababu ya vile venye tulikuwa tumezoea kuvuta tukiwa wengi. Then mimi siku hizi waga nakunywaga dawa za BP. Siko na blood pressure, but ilianza through cigarette. Mi pombe hata ikuni cost sana, cause liver waga nikitwaga inarudi haraka sana. Okay. But cigarette ini affect na njia nyingine mbaya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at now the products that from tobacco, and this will lead us to the whole conversation, because World Health Organization inatuambia that that most of the tobacco users, a huge number, are from middle income as well as low income. So this means that people in this demographic is access could buy either the cigarettes or some of these products. So Dr. what are some of those products that Kenyans need to know this morning?
The ones that contain tobacco, you mean?
Yes.
There's cigarettes, there is snuff, there is chewed tobacco. There is a new thing, sort of, it's a bit of a craze now, the vaping situation. It has nicotine in it, and certain, now these are commercially created most of the time. There's some liquids in that vaping machine. So yeah, these are some of the things that have tobacco, and you have to be very careful about it. So you could have chewed tobacco, you could have cigarette smoke, you could have tobacco in different forms, and they all have significant health effects.
So earlier you're giving us the effects of now for smoking, for the lungs and everything. Do all these others that you were talking about, and even particularly, let's even for the vaping, because now, as you're saying, it's a whole now craze, even for the new kind of a generation who, they probably have it as it looks cool, quote unquote. They probably won't want to look like the smoking and everything. For the side effects, are they similar to for cigarette smoking?
You know, it's what the second caller referred to, peer pressure. You know, you see something that looks cool and you want to do that, and you really need to have some level of strength and self-control to give yourself a good chance. Now, there are slight differences. They're all harmful, by the way, all extremely harmful. It's like asking which bomb is better between this bomb. They're different, but they're all harmful. Vaping in particular has actually created a new disease we didn't have in the past before vaping came up. It's called e-cigarette and vaping associated lung injury, EVALI. Look it up. It never used to exist. So we had patients coming into hospitals, not in Kenya, but in the West where this started. And they looked like they had signs of severe pneumonia. They were breathless, they had chest pain, and actually a big portion of those patients died. 2.4% of them died over a period of time. And when you investigate to look for the signs of this infection, you actually couldn't find, there's no infection, no virus, no bacteria. What these people had in common.
Just briefly, I'm being told that we have a caller. Hello, TV47, who am I speaking to?
Hello.
Yes, good morning. Who am I speaking to?
Morodu.
Yes, unatupigia ukiwa wapi?
Nikolo Isabu.
Yes, unaweza paza sauti kidogo tu. I hope umemute TV, upaze sauti alafu uulize swali au maoni uko nayo.
Ora maskini.
Okay.
Ni gani mtu anaweza tumia aziache? Because I've been smoking, this is my 40th year.
Your what year?
40th year.
40th year, wow, okay.
I've been smoking for the last 40 years. I started smoking nikiwa high school, That is around 40 years ago.
Okay.
Mtu anaweza tumia nini mtu anaweza tumia? Because I've tried, it's hard, bana. It's very hard kuacha feki. Uko wili, uko nini, you really try, but
right.
So
we'll be getting an answer for you just all right. Kindly hold on to the line, usikate. Wacha daktari kujibu tu sahi alafu before ukate tu. So I hope you heard his question. Yes.
Yeah, and I really empathize with what he says, and I feel it's an important message. In fact, in this whole conversation, I'm speaking as a doctor, but anybody watching, I'd want you to hear what the caller is saying. He's saying he has smoked for 40 years. He started in high school. It's hard. He has tried.
No.
And that's the truth. The same thing that Faiza was saying.
So he's still on the line.
Yes.
He
needs to know how to.
Yes.
So what you need to do is to get help. You cannot do it on your own. Okay, some people can. It's very difficult. You need to get help. And help comes through the special rehabilitation centers that have been created. You don't have to be an inpatient there, but you need to work with somebody. Or the nearest, as Fazad indicated, the nearest psychiatrist to guide you, because there are options. You'll get, instead of starting with smoke, you'll get nicotine. Nicotine is still harmful, but it's less than having the other ingredients from the smoke itself getting into you. So there's a program that will lower your exposure. The moment you stop smoking, the craving is still there. How do we handle that craving? We give you a small alternative to smoke, which is a nicotine patch, and that patch will then make you still feel okay as we lower the amount of the dose that you get, and this happens over time. Second to this is the need for counseling. This is also equally important, that you work together with somebody in this way. And there are many other factors that you have to change, and even just exercise. It's not spoken about enough. So identify someone to work with, commit to that journey, have a professional help you through that journey, because you cannot do it on your own. And the same goes to Dama, who had called earlier.
Right. I hope umepata jibu.
Kabisa. And then how do I get to get to that psychiatrist or somebody to work with? I mean, do you have like some contacts or?
Okay, so maybe I'll just mention, because you can, where we are based at Dr. Asik Kantere Jalaram Medical Services. It's opposite the Oval in Westlands, and our website is jalaramnairobi.org. So you can actually look us up, give us a call, then a link with somebody who can then assist you through that journey.
Right. Quick one before Kate, where are you right now? Because we also have Faiza Wanjiru Mwenyako, she's based in Muranga. Uko wapi?
Niko Luisabu.
Oh, Luisabu, okay.
Lakini I work at Roiro.
Okay.
So that is my trade. Roiro, Luisabu.
So we'll have this. So our team will take your number.
Muranga, where are you in Muranga? Kwetu ni Muranga, nyumbani.
Oh, okay. Unaweza zungumza na Faiza kabla ndio labda kueleze vizuri.
Okay, Muranga.
Okay. Yes.
Tuko kabla hujafika Mukoyo. Ndia Kambero, tuko pale kunaitwa Kongoine.
Kongoine, nakujua kwa akina
Washio. Kongoine. Ukiuliza tu rehabilitation ile iko pale Tumaini ama ile askari, utaletwa na utakuja nitakuguide.
I know that route all the way to local 20 now.
Okay, and our psychiatrist wagana kujaga on Monday and Friday. So on those 2 days unaweza tembea.
Can I just pop in? Nikienda home hivyo labda I can pop in.
So thank you very much. We'll again take your number and then just have a follow-up to Opatie, your contact, so that you really get the help that you're really looking for. Right, thank you very much. Keep talking to us. 0795 045 864 is the number to call us live. You can always share your experience with us. The previous callers we've had have done the same. Or maybe even someone who is close to you, someone who you've seen, trying to struggle with trying to quit smoking, or even quit any kind of a tobacco product. We'll be trying to get the help from these two amazing people right here.
You know, Stanley, there was a time
nilikuwa
na shida ya roho. And when I went to the hospital, na hiyo ningetaka daktari aseme, niliambiwa shida ni meno. Na nikashindwa meno na roho zinakuja wapi?
Okay,
maybe someone can experience, maybe I am experienced kama mimi.
I'm not sure what exactly was the description there, but of course every part of the body is interconnected. So I'm not sure exactly what that's a very broad statement. It may not be possible for me to pinpoint until this was a precise cause. There is a question I was responding to. It's just skipped my mind, Stanley, just before the caller came in. What are we responding to?
And actually, even as you also think about that, I'm being told you have another caller.
Okay.
All the way to Machakos.
All right.
Yes. Is it Alois ama ni Alice? Alois, habari ya watu wa Machakos?
Iko salama, labda yenu.
Yes, sisi tuko salama. Yes. Do you have any questions abo kuna maoni?
Ile kitu nilikuwa nataka kuuliza.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been looking on the media. That hizi nicotine pouches zinaweza saidia mtu kulower hiyo addiction ya tobacco. So kama daktari anaweza kuifafanua, atuambie kama it really works ama ni mambo tu ya internet ama inakuanga aje juu. I've been smoking for 4 years. And I want to quit it.
Okay, so thank you very much, Alois. Salimia sana watu wa Machakos. Uendelee kutazama T47. And yes, na utapata tujibu sahi. Still on the same. I know you had mentioned a bit of it, but then I mean he's curious. Ini kitu ya internet ama ni, but does it work?
I didn't get this question.
So Alois from Machakos, he's been smoking for 4 years and he really wants to quit, and he's been taking a look at even the internet and seeing, just researching about nicotine patches, and trying to see, do they actually work? So he really wants to get from you,
Yes.
do they actually work?
Actually, nicotine patches, remember, they're still harmful because it's still nicotine has addictive effect. But this is something that we're using in the process of getting you off the acute phase. The moment you stop smoking, one of the big challenges why people are not successful is because they stop, and when they stop, then they still have that craving. And it's not something that you should go and use by yourself. Work with the psychiatrist. And by the way, we say psychiatrist because these are the people who deal with the specialists in substance addiction, not because you've gone crazy or anything. No.
Yeah.
So the psychiatrist will work with you and prescribe for you if necessary. Remember, the idea is to come off the nicotine patches altogether, come off nicotine altogether. So this is a stopgap measure. It should be part of a program. If you just take it and use it by yourself as a single measure, likely you're not going to succeed. You need to have that in the setting of a bigger program and a bigger system. And what you're doing is you have a nicotine patch, you have your counselor, you have your specialist, you have your exercise, you have what she has said, you're moving away from the influence that keeps bringing you back into smoking. It has to be a wholesome event, and give it your best shot and you can progress. Actually, I remember what we were discussing earlier, whether these different types of cigarettes have. And I was telling you about a valley. So all these patients, they looked like they had pneumonia, very severe pneumonia, life-threatening. And what we found out was, and when I say we, I mean doctors, is that these people were just vaping. That's what they had. So vaping has nicotine still, the addiction issues that you're still describing, but then a lot of them are commercial. The substances, you see what the vaping machine does, there's some liquid, it converts that into vapor, hits a little bit, and then that is what you inhale. They've added so many different things in there, including THCs. They've added vitamin E acetate. And in fact, right now, there is an advisory from the American CDC saying that this vitamin E acetate must be removed from these vaping devices because of the harm that they have. So all these tobacco-containing elements, all these things are harmful in their own ways. And vaping in particular has a unique illness that wasn't there before, even after centuries of tobacco.
Okay. Dr. Wanjiru, I see you have about 4 minutes. Kumalize conversation. In the 4 minutes, I'd love us to talk about PIA, because on Friday, the government will be hearing from the Ministry of Health na pia organizations zingine about how so far venye tumeenda concerning tobacco and the kind of measures that are needed to be. The government has had quite a number of measures. One of them including vitu za taxes, kuongeza bei ya nini. So I'd love, even first of you, Wanjiru, ni measures gani government inafaa ichukue to ensure that we reduce the tobacco use in the country?
I can say from the manufacturer, they can assist. Because cigarette has got more than 40,000 chemicals. Na cigarette ndio ile kitu huwezi kopeshwa kwa duka. Huwezi kopeshwa sigara. Pahali popote cigarette ni ile kitu huwezi kopeshwa. Ukiona unambiaga hapana nitasahau. So what they can do from the manufacturer, they can reduce. Because hii imekuwa, inaleta cancer, magonjwa mingi sana. Still it is addictive, and remember, addiction is a disease. It is also a disease. Because when you start smoking, you become sick. You are sick because you need drugs. You need medicine.
Okay.
You need to see a psychiatrist. Ni ugonjwa ambao waga inaingia kwa brain. Yeah.
All right. So on the manufacturing side. How about you, Dr.
Well, I think it's awareness. I think it's promote awareness over and over again. And sometimes it's one thing to hear me speak as a doctor because we all these academic discussions, but another thing to hear people who are struggling. And just in this conversation alone, Stanley, we've had call after caller callings. I've only smoked for 4 years and I'm struggling to stop. I can't do it. Someone else has smoked for 40. They've tried and they can't stop. You can hear Wanjiku, her voice. You can tell that over time, the cigarette smoke has damaged the lining of her windpipe. And as a result, she's not able to speak with the clarity that she should have had. These stories should be out there routinely. And let's invest. Let's get all these ambassadors. Let them speak, tell their stories, even though they're smoking then, because the best solution is to not start.
Okay.
And if you have fewer and fewer people smoking, the pressure is then reduced in that space. A stronger regulation. I don't believe that the manufacturers would work against their own interests. Unfortunately, that is what I think. But then regulations should be higher, awareness should be higher. To an extent, as a country, even though we are we smoke the most in East Africa, compared to the Western world, we are not so badly off. So largely, there's tremendous wisdom in the community. Let us extend that a little bit and just understand that there is no wisdom in smoking. Those who are smoking now, many of them are aware of how harmful it is, but they're trapped. They're struggling to get out of that. Let us not get ourselves into that space. Let's apply some wisdom in that area.
Right. Probably last words, from you, Wanjiru. Una expect kusikia nini from the governor come Friday as we commemorate World No Tobacco Day?
Like the doctor said, tukuwe na awareness. If we can, the government can empower people like us to go talking and preaching, saying how bad the cigarette smoking is bad, on how harmful is tobacco. And you know, there's no any other animal has ever taken tobacco apart from human being. That is no. In fact, hata pali kulikuwa kumepandwa mmea tobacco, ukapanda mahindi huwezi kukula, jua vile inakuwa gani kali, inaharibu mpaka mchanga. So it's through awareness. The government, what it is supposed to do is to create awareness.
Thank you very much. Asanteni sana, both of you, for the wise nuggets that umepatia, even for the callers who have really called in live. Faiza Wanjiru, recovering addict as well as an addiction counselor at Sergeant Xavier Mentorship Empowerment and Counseling Center in Murang'a, as well as Dr. Victor Ngani, Medical Director, Dr. Rasik Kantaria Jalaram Medical Services right in Nairobi. He's also critical care Dr. Santeni Sana. For more of this conversation, because this doesn't really end here, stick around for Matukio, because Joshua Nsare will be giving you more of these conversations concerning World No Tobacco Day. For all those, for follow-up on this, kama unataka call in live, you can definitely stick around at 11 a.m. for the same conversation. This is